So hello everybody and welcome to today's Reiki and Peace with Grief Circle. And we're coming together in this online community, just coming together for connection, inspiration, expansion, and healing. And I'm Kathy Brook-Wong, Reiki Master and your host. And I'm very excited to introduce today's special guest, Becky Lomaka. And would you please say hello, Becky, and tell us a little bit of what you'll be sharing with us today.
Sure. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Becky. I know some of you. It's great to meet others. So glad to be a part of Kathy's circle today. I've been doing her Reiki circles on and off since last summer. And they're always a wonderful way to start my week. And when she asked me to be a part of the circle today, I was really honored that you asked. So thank you very much. And today we really just wanted to go through some experiential exercises to really lean into our grief and allow ourselves to feel it, to explore it, and be okay with it, and realize how sometimes as we lean into it, it actually helps us on our journey.
Thank you. Yes. And you are the grief. Please tell us your title again.
I am the Director of Grief Support and Education at O'Connor Mortuary.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Becky. This is a topic very close to my heart. I've been a hospice angel. I'm sharing Reiki with hospice patients and their families and people grieving since 2019. And then I met Becky through the Newport Mesa Interfaith Council. And then I remember when I told you I was sharing Reiki with hospice patients, and I really want to step into like my calling to support people dealing with grief. I know you just like welcomed me with such enthusiasm, and you had me visit you at O'Connor Mortuary, and really you're setting me on the path that I'm meant to go on. So I'm so grateful for you, Becky, and I'm very excited for you to share about this topic about leaning into grief and peace with grief with everyone here today. And I will be sharing a little bit about what Reiki is, and I will be sharing Reiki with you distantly, so I'll kind of tell you what that looks like. But first, I'd like to start with self-introductions, just an opening blessing. So we are coming together in a circle, and we're here to support each other in a loving way. So I would like to share a blessing from this book that's called Prayers for Healing, 365 blessings, poems, and meditations from around the world. And this is kind of a prayer by Rumi. So if you like to just right now, just settle in and lean back in your chair and feel comfortable in your seat, and just close your eyes, and we just have a kind of quiet time to get started in our circle. I welcome our new friends to the circle, and I'm going to mute everyone right now to make sure it's nice and peaceful and quiet. So get settled in and close your eyes, and just let my kind of words, these are words of Rumi, kind of move through you. This being human is a guest house. Every morning is a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing out for some new delight. The dark, though, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whomever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Again, that's by Rumi. And so I'd like to invite all of you to introduce yourself. Please tell us your name, and where you're zooming in from. And I thought today, in just a word or two, can you share how do you like to receive comfort? How does comfort? Is it a hug? Is it a conversation with someone? Is it a nap? Is it music? Is it kindness? Is it just yeah? So Becky, would you start just again introduce yourself and where are you from and how do you receive comfort?
Sure. I'm Becky, and I am in Irvine, and I receive comfort from those closest to me. I've received comfort from people who are present in my life and don't necessarily try to fix everything for me, yet are there through it all.
Thank you. Yeah. So Neil, will you introduce yourself and maybe a word or two? How do you receive comfort? Oh, and you're muted, so everyone will unmute themselves when when I invite them to speak. So you have to unmute yourself, please, Neil. And then we'll have Terry share after that. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Neil. I'm in San Juan. Comfort. Wow, that's a great question. I think it's a hug. I think it's an ear, good meditation, and just being out in nature.
Thank you. Thank you. And Terry, will you share, please? Or introduce yourself? So we'll have Terry unmute yourself, please.
I'm trying.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. So my name is Terry Preston. I am actually a bereavement counselor for St. Joseph Hospice. And I am personally looking to diversify some resources for the people that we actually serve. So I came about you, Kathy, which I'm very excited about. Personally, how I receive comfort is a presence from friends that are accepting and family that is just allows me to be where I'm at, as opposed to coming in and trying to make it all better.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Cindy, will you please share?
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I'm in Irvine. I'm a friend of Becky's, and she shared with me about this Reiki session, and I was excited to try it out. For me, comfort is just being in contact with the people I love, and whether that's in person, which is great, and sometimes from a phone call or via Zoom, just knowing that those people that you love are there for you to support you.
Thank you for sharing, Allison. And then we'll have Vicky after that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Allison. I am in Irvine also. I've had some beautiful personal experiences with grief, and I'm currently undergoing yoga training, so I'm excited to understand and share ideas today. I received grief, I think, just through presence and silence and eye contact. And I like what Neil said about nature too, I think.
Yeah, I love when people share because we're getting all these different ideas of how people, receive and find comfort. That's lovely. Okay, Vicky.
Hi, I'm Vicky, and I'm in Los Alamitos. Initially, I think I resist or maybe even avoid comfort when I'm feeling that, when I'm grieving. However, in the past, I think I've probably received some comfort from animals. I think for some reason that makes me feel a little bit more comforted, but eventually I do enjoy and appreciate the comfort of of other individuals who are there to listen and who perhaps share the same kind of experiences and can relate to it and can share theirs as well. They could be together in that grieving moment.
Thank you. That's beautiful. And Ellie, are you available to say hello?
Yes. Hi, I'm Ellie. I'm from Long Beach. How are you? Hello, everyone. For me, comfort, I think I find in the silence. But it was really nice to be in the company of another person or walking through nature, but in the quiet. And I think that's, for me, the best way to receive comfort.
It's good to see you. Thank you. And Susan, hello. Would you unmute yourself just to say hello, where you're from, and how do you feel comfort?
All right, first I would like to apologize for being late. I don't know why I couldn't get into the Zoom, but it's a pleasure to be here. I live in Rancho Santa Margarita in South Orange County. Let's see. I'm a huge Kathy fan. I know very little about Reiki. I unfortunately know way too much about grief. And I tend to be a loner. So I really like being out in nature. I like being at the beach, usually really early in the morning when there's no one else there. I think what I don't appreciate in people trying to comfort me, and I have a lot of good peeps in my life, is when they try and fix me or shut down those emotions. When they say, oh, don't cry, or don't be sad, that really doesn't work. But I tend to make myself too busy. And so I think my challenge is to kind of sit with those thoughts and feelings and just, give it a go.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And Malika, my new friend in the circle, are you available to say hi?
Yes, yes. Hi, nice to be here. Hi, everybody. I am from San Francisco, and I am so happy to be with you all. And my comfort is nature, meditation, and silence. It connects a lot with nature. Talk to the trees and hug trees.
Fellow tree hugger. Oh, thank you. I appreciate all sharing, and I know that Becky's going to have so much to share about how to come alongside others who are grieving, and how to sense it in our bodies, and the ways to take care of ourselves. And so it's wonderful having you here. And I will briefly tell you about Reiki, because that's one way that I feel comfort, and I comfort others, is just sharing this universal life force energy that is all around us. And so Reiki is just a hands-on healing practice, and it's bringing in this beautiful life force energy. And the word Reiki comes from Rei and Ki, which does mean this, this vital life force energy that flows all around us. And so it's it's like bringing in as being a vessel for this abundant, gentle spirit, that's spiritually guided. It is healing on many levels. It's balancing on the physical level, emotional levels, mental and spiritual levels. It's a wonderful source of comfort for people, especially, anytime, and especially I'm finding it during this time. Spirit just kind of moves through me and through the Reiki practitioner, and it's shared from them to others, and it can be shared with people, and Reiki can be shared with animals, with situations. We could just bless our food with it, and it's very versatile. And so I will be sharing Reiki with you today, as Becky shares, because this is, I just feel is an intelligent energy that has no boundaries. During this year of COVID, it's been shared distantly, and it works, and it is really wonderful. So it is a way to share with others, either in person, hands-on, or distantly, wherever they are in the world. And usually I have some kind of guided, gentle practice that we share. I know I'm running out of time for my share, but there is something that I'd like to share with you, just for people who are living in the Southern California area, or people who would like to travel to beautiful Orange County. So I just would like to share briefly as something very excited that has come to birth quite recently. And these are in-person healing arts events. So I've been sharing on this online platform for almost a year. And we have people from San Francisco here, and sometimes people come from like Europe or Canada. But I feel that with spring in the air and the buds that are growing on the trees and just the life that is coming, that people are starting to feel a little safer coming out in person. So I'd like to have a beautiful space for people. So take a snapshot if you want. I have a beautiful sound practitioner coming on March 20th. I have a guest healer, Marla, who will be coming in April doing psychic readings. We'll have yoga and a Reiki journey in May. In June, again, it's a beautiful sound bowl and a Reiki share. Doug Winger will be coming, doing shamanic journeying, and I'll be sharing Reiki, and then we'll do a holistic dance fitness. So you can see that these are live events. They are going to be in my garden sanctuary of my home. So those of you in Southern California would like to visit us, you are so welcome to come. And just last, if you want to be in the area, if you're in the area for you or another woman, I'm having a women's retreat. It's an all-day retreat with a guest healer facilitator, Frida. We're going to have samples and Reiki and beautiful salt bowl prayers. We will be going to the ocean and blessing the ocean, and just a lot of really cool things. So I wanted to start with that. And now I would love to have Becky share with us, and you are on for a beautiful experience. So thank you, Becky.
Thank you. Well, I am going to attempt to share my screen here. There we go. I love this quote, and I thought this would really really set the mood, set the tone for us as we move forward. And we're experiencing grief, we're talking about grief, we're feeling grief. The expectation that we can be immersed in suffering and loss daily and not be touched by it is as unrealistic as expecting to be able to walk through water without getting wet. Love that thought. And think about that. You know, Susan, you shared that that you are not new to grief. And a lot of you shared that comfort meant people coming alongside you and not trying to fix you or not trying to make anything better, but allowing you to feel all of the feelings. And I really feel that this quote speaks into that. So what is grief? Well, closure is not a thing in grief. Many of us want it to be. Those of you who have experienced death loss of someone significant in your life, you want that grief to be finite. You want it to have a beginning. You want it to have an end. Yet most grieving people will tell you that the ache simply never goes away. That you love, because the love that you have for that person never goes away. So grief means learning to love someone despite their physical absence. My friend Cindy and I were discussing WandaVision. We were both watching the WandaVision series on Disney Plus, and Vision had this beautiful quote that he spoke to a grieving Wanda. He said, "But what is grief if not love persevering?" And you know, grief is a natural and normal response that we all have to our loss. But what I want all of you to do is think about things that we consider good in our lives. So think of something good in your life. And I want to talk about how grief is even present in these so-called good things in our life. So if you've graduated from college or from a special degree, or maybe you're retiring and think of all of those good things, you know, or we're looking forward to what's to come, yet there's a piece of us that's grieving what we've left behind. You know, if you're married or have in a significant relationship, think about celebrating becoming that twosome. Yet there's a little piece of you that grieves the loss of that single life. When a baby is born, you know, we celebrate the start of this new life, yet we grieve the changes that this new life may bring to our lives. So as you think about those things, think that all grief is unique, all grief is different, and I'm not comparing these griefs to grieving a death loss, but I feel like if we can acknowledge that grief is interwoven into so many of our life experiences, when we do experience a death loss, it might just help us make that grief feel a little less foreign, and we might be just a little bit more comfortable in sitting in that grief. So now in particular, you know, what makes grief so hard? We have so many non-death losses that all of us have experienced over this past year. You know, in this circle, we may have experienced pet loss, you know, losing a friend, losing a job, illness, injury, missing milestones like graduations, birthdays, weddings, mental illness, addiction, trauma, relocation. And then we have the, you know, environmental anxiety, the uncertainty, the isolation that has gone along with this, you know, this pandemic over this past year. So grief has become an unwelcome guest. You know, COVID-19 stole our moments, our togetherness, our ability to be close to people that we love. And it left us really struggling to make decisions. It left us struggling to process so much that has been taken away from us. Yet we've carried on, you know, we've carried on, and we've done what we can within our power to alleviate suffering, to support one another, to assist one another, you know, to do our jobs. Yet our resilience has come at a high price. So how do we face our grief when our world seems so out of control? Well, we can't control what is going to happen next, and worrying about it, it doesn't work. You know, it distracts us from the task at hand. It wastes our mental energy. It compromises our courage. It undermines our motivation, and it slows our pace. So I want you to think about losses you've experienced, maybe quite some time ago, maybe today, maybe last week, maybe a year ago. Think about a loss and think about, what can I control, and then what can I let go of? Practicing mindfulness, you know, being in this circle today, connecting with others in meaningful ways. When we talked about comfort, every single person who shared how they feel comforted talked about connecting in some meaningful way, connecting with another, connecting with nature, connecting with our animals, and then really making space for your spiritual life and allowing it to take root. So I want you to think about your grief, your loss, and just take a minute. And I want you to think about, where do you feel it? Where do you feel it physically in your body? For me, I feel it in my throat. I feel it in my shoulders. Does anybody else want to share where you feel your grief, where you feel it physically in your body?
And I want to add that if you'd like to share in the chat, that'd be great too. We'll take a look at what you share in the chat, if you're more comfortable sharing like that.
And you don't have to share, but I want you to think about that. I want you to think about where you're feeling it. And now I want you to unclench your jaw. I want you to relax your shoulders. I want you to relax your forehead. And I want you to take a deep breath. Finding our grounding. You know, we can't control what will happen next, but we can find our grounding when we've lost our assumptive world. We find something that is nurturing for us. We can stay in the present moment. We can allow ourselves to feel that physical grief in our body, and then we unclench our jaw. We relax our shoulders, relax our forehead, take a deep breath. So now I want you to really lean in. Why? Why am I feeling this? What might I be sad about right now? And what unexpected loss has this week brought me? I'm going to let you think about that for a minute. And a couple people did share. They feel their grief. Somebody feels the grief in the pit of her stomach. And somebody else said, you know, letting go of what we can't control is a tough lesson for those of us who think we are in control of our lives. And we've learned that we know better. So why am I feeling this way? What might I be sad about right now? And what unexpected loss has this week brought me? So as we sit with that, we have two different paths we can go down. So why am I feeling? What am I sad about? What loss was brought to me this week? I'm feeling something. And it's uncomfortable. So I numb. I numb this feeling. I try to shove it away. I try to forget about it. I try to move on. And the feeling persists. Or what if I feel something? It's uncomfortable. I don't like this feeling. I resist it. I start to numb and I resist. Now I notice my resistance. I acknowledge this feeling. And really important here, I acknowledge this feeling without labeling it. I just acknowledge, hey, I'm feeling this. I don't like it. It's uncomfortable and I'm feeling it. My body relaxes. I allow myself to feel the sensations and the feeling passes. So two paths. Both are uncomfortable. One path I numb. The other path is I lean into my grief. I lean into what I'm feeling. One path, the feeling persists. The other path, as I lean into it, as I allow myself to feel it, as I allow myself to experience this, then the feeling passes. I want to talk a little bit about toxic positivity. So toxic positivity is really this thought or this idea that no matter what the circumstance, I should always have a positive, happy, and optimistic mindset. And I think when those who love and care about us, and they're doing it out of love and care for us, they tend to focus on this toxic positivity, right? As a griever, I'm absolutely sure you know what I'm talking about. No matter what your loss, no matter how devastating the grief aftermath, you've probably heard so many people say to you, just stay positive, focus on gratitude, look at the bright side. You know, I was just talking with a woman on Friday whose spouse just died a month ago, and she was lamenting to me. She said, I thought these people were my friends, and I'm questioning because now she's so frustrated with this toxic positivity that everything is going to be okay. And she said, you know, there are days when I can barely get one foot out of bed, and I don't need to hear, it doesn't help me that everything's going to be okay. So toxic positivity in our grief, it encourages us to ignore or to deny that things are hard, that things are painful, that things can be overwhelming and confusing and difficult. It says, ignore the storm and focus on the rainbow. And even if you don't see the rainbow, I want you to pretend that you see the rainbow. And if you pretend long enough, then that rainbow is finally going to appear. But what's the problem? What's the problem with that toxic positivity? What if the rainbow never does appear? And then I have these feelings of guilt. I have these feelings of despair. I must be doing it wrong. And grief is so personal. It's so, everyone doesn't live. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. So this toxic positivity that if I do it this way and I'm just grateful, everything's going to be okay, and then it's not, then I have this feeling of despair. So it tells us that in grief is a dirty word, and our goal should be to get back to normal. Well, when you stop and think about that, that is a completely unreasonable task for anyone who is grieving. Asking you to repeat and believe something that there is clear evidence to the contrary is, you can't do it. You absolutely can't do it. Life is great. When you want to scream, no, you know, my husband is dead. Life is not great. So what about, rather than toxic positivity, what if we focus on this benefit finding in our grief? So consequences of negative events. You know, acknowledge my life has been shattered. It will never be the life that I wanted, the life I expected, or the life that I hoped for. Yet, it doesn't mean that I cannot find joy, meaning, or purpose ever again in my life. It allows us to say that sometimes I feel hopeless and hopeful all at the same time. Think about that. Can you allow yourself to feel hopeless and hopeful all at once? And allow yourself, even amongst those feelings of total despair, to find very small moments of gratitude, to say, you know what? I don't know how I'm even surviving this, but I am grateful that I opened up my eyes this morning. I'm grateful that I got out of bed. And you know what? I'm going to do it again tomorrow. So positivity, it doesn't ask us to deny problems. It doesn't ask us to deny our grief. But it allows us to find those, by being intentional, finding those moments of gratitude. And then practicing being aware of your feelings without labeling them as good or bad. You know, I will say it probably 100 times in our few minutes that we have together. You know, emotions are not good or bad, they just are. Emotions just are. It's what we do with these emotions that can cause us trouble. It's crucial that we allow ourselves to feel all of our feelings. I mean, think of that movie. What's the Pixar movie with all of the feelings? I can't think of the name of it. But you know, like you have
Inside Out.
Inside Out. Thank you. Inside Out. Yes. If you haven't seen it, watch Inside Out. I mean, it's a beautiful, as so many movies that are labeled children's movies that teach us adults so much. But allow ourselves to experience all of our feelings and focus on what we do with those emotions. We experience the hardest ones, we experience the easiest ones, and we express those emotions without anyone telling us to stop being so negative. Being honest in our grief. It's a tough thing to do. And frankly, it's probably something that we will not do with just anyone. You know, it's that close circle. It's those people who we feel are there for us, who are allowing us to feel everything and not telling us we should get over it, move on, and feel better and look for that rainbow. We experience a lot of should haves in our grief. You know, I should have done this. I should be feeling this. I should have thought of this. I should have said this while I had the chance. I should have made that phone call. And many times in our grief, we tell ourselves, you know what, we need to ignore the difficult stuff and we only need to focus on the positive. And we try to distract. I think, Susan, you talked about that. You know, I like to be busy, right? We try to distract ourselves away from the hard emotions and we look to keep busy. Or sometimes we might be hyper aware of gratitude, growth, and strength. And really, in our grief journey, the key is balance. You know, listen for the voice in yourself that might be pushing you to avoid and push back. So think about that. Think about when we went through that exercise of where we physically feel our grief, and then those two different paths. We can feel and we can numb, or we can feel and we start to resist, but then we allow ourselves to feel, we allow ourselves to acknowledge. So think about that. Listen for that voice in yourself when you might be pushing back and avoiding those feelings. And then always remind yourself that there's room not only for the hard stuff or the positive stuff, but we're most human and we're most honest when we feel both. And then I think it's really, really common too in our grief to sometimes want to stay in that really deepest, darkest pain. And some people, you may think, gosh, that's strange. Why I want to be over this, right? I don't want to feel this way anymore. But sometimes we think our pain is the only thing that connects us to our loved one. And it isn't. Sometimes we think that the pain is the only reminder for us, and it's the only reminder to those around us of how important that person is and was in our life. So sometimes we start to feel really comfortable in that pain. So in these instances, we buck against all positivity, not just the toxic positivity. We don't want to see any positive because we're afraid if we do, that's going to mean that we're going to lose that connection. We think if we acknowledge the positivity that we're forgetting our loss. Yet remember that positivity and pain can live side by side. Neither cancels the other one out. So finding hope, finding gratitude, finding comfort, finding positivity, it never takes away from the significance of our loss, of our loved one's death, of our grief. Instead, what positivity does is it allows us to move forward and bring that person along with us. We bring that person along on the journey, bring that loved one and our grief with us as we move forward to a life of meaning, a life of hope, and a life of purpose. Give grief words. As a griever, share your story. As somebody who is coming alongside someone who is grieving, share your story. Give grief words. Give grief words. We tell our stories so we can heal. You know, Neil, who is on this in this circle with us, knows this better than anybody. He has been coming alongside the grieving for close to over 2 decades now. And he allows people to give grief words. And I have witnessed that experience. And I have seen that physical pain of that grief be lifted by his presence and by him allowing people to share their story, share the life story, share the death story. It's so powerful. And again, if you're supporting someone who's grieving, sometimes it's hard for us to find the words. Yet don't turn the other way in the grocery store. Don't think, oh, I should really give this person a call, but I just don't know what to say, so I'm not going to. Do it. You don't have to know exactly what to say, but let that griever share the story. Telling our stories helps us heal. And words have power. All of us, we talked about what is comforting, and it's really that coming alongside, that feeling supported without trying to be fixed. These are just a few examples that I put up here. And we want to be really careful when we're coming alongside others, not to grief shame. And grief shame is a term that Megan Devine, who is a psychotherapist, termed to describe, she describes grief shaming as the act of dismissing or downplaying another person's grief. So maybe saying, oh, well, at least you can have other children. Or the act of comparing grief experiences. Well, at least you can remarry. I will never be able to get my son back. I can't replace my son. Or the act of judging how someone does grief. You know, I can't believe you took your wedding ring off already. So be careful. Words have power. Those are not comforting statements. Those don't help people heal. Those don't help people grow on their journey. Sometimes just not even knowing what to say and saying, I don't know what to say, but I want you to know that I'm here for you, can make all the difference in the world. And even more than words, the power of presence. You know, if you're trying to support someone who is grieving, let go of the assumption that the person will eventually return to so-called normal, and avoid pressuring them to get back to their old self. Their old self no longer exists. And for those of you who have experienced a death loss, a really significant loss, you know your old self no longer exists. No matter how good your intentions may be to come alongside that person, this approach of grief support does not bring comfort. It only brings frustration and shame and pain. Instead of trying to fix your person's grief or help the grieving person return to their former state, what if instead you're gonna let them know, I'm gonna be here for you as you work to discover this new version of you. Now that grief has touched your life in such a profound way. I don't know what that's going to look like. You don't know what that's going to look like, but I promise you, I'm going to be here for the ride. I'm going to be part of that journey. I think Megan Devine, she states this so beautifully. I'm going to read this quote. She said, Acknowledgement is the best medicine we have. It doesn't seem like it should do anything, but when someone is in pain and you look at them and say, I see you, that's medicine. That's medicine. Words have power. Show up, listen, be that safe place. Don't place judgment. Don't label feelings. Simply say, I see you. With that, though, with that ability to hold that sacred space comes a lot of emotional energy too. So compassion begins with self-compassion. What if we practice self-care always, instead of just when we felt like we were so depleted and we really needed it? It's that old adage, they when you're on the airplane, put your mask on first and then put the other person's mask on. What if we viewed self-care that exact same way, and we didn't view it as this need to take care of ourselves only when I'm so distraught or I'm so run down or I'm so frustrated that I just can't take it anymore? What if we build self-care into our every single day practice, finding those moments of stillness? Everybody talked about that too in when we talked about what comforted us, that those moments of stillness, whether it be in nature or being in silence, that is so important as a griever and coming alongside people who are grieving. So Dr. Martin Sigelman, he is really the pioneer in a movement of positive psychology. And he talks about differentiating happiness and well-being. And I think when we look at finding peace with our grief, and when we talk, as we've talked so much about allowing ourselves to feel all of these feelings, allowing ourselves to lean into the grief, allowing ourselves to feel both hope and hopelessness, he talks about this ideal of happiness and just focusing on always increasing our happiness while eliminating everything that distracts from it, maybe doesn't do us a whole lot of good. He suggests rather that in a world filled with things that can seem completely out of our control, and that can very easily decrease our happiness and our satisfaction, that it's crucial that we focus on our well-being versus our happiness. And this is really about our relationship with our thoughts and with our feelings. That a sense of well-being is just not having this positive emotion of being happy, but it's about a life that includes engagement, relationships, meaning, purpose, accomplishments, while we experience moments of sadness, of despair, of suffering, of devastation. So this strong sense of well-being allows us to sit with these emotions and have confidence that they're not a failure, but they're simply a part of our life. Grief is a part of our life, an unwelcome part of our life, yet a part of our life. And that these are storms we will weather with our faith in our ability to survive. So I love that thought. I want to end, before I turn it back over to Kathy, that thought of well-being. Well-being today. I'm not going to focus on being happy. I'm going to focus on my well-being. And through self-compassion, through compassion to others, through those moments of stillness, through allowing myself to feel, through this both and mentality versus either or mentality, then I find that I have a wonderful sense of well-being. I'm going to turn it back to you, Kathy, and then I will stop sharing, and then I'll pull up the the prayer at the end.
Thank you, Becky. That your words are so beautiful and so powerful. And before Becky and I share how to get in contact with us, I would like, there's a lot for all of us for us to take in. So I'd like to just take 30 seconds of just quiet. And I'd like you all to just please close your eyes and just, you could put one hand on your heart or both, or give yourself even just a big hug. Just, we'll sit in stillness for a moment. And we're just sending, just compassion to ourselves and just loving on ourselves. And yeah, and all these feelings and all the thoughts that you may have experienced during this time is all that beautiful part of being human. And yeah, as I love how Becky says, it's just not labeling and just being with whatever we're feeling. That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Becky. Whew. Thank you. So I would like Becky to share a little bit how to contact her if you would like, more information or support, and then I'll do the same. Oh, yeah, Becky. Will you tell us a little bit how we can get a hold of you?
Yeah, this is my email and my cell phone number. And so, yes, if I can be of any support to helping people find resources, support groups, whatever you may need, please feel free to reach out to me.
And Becky will be staying on after 4. If you'll have a question or two, you'd like to share how you're feeling or what her words have meant to you, we'll be staying on for another 15 minutes. So thank you so much, Becky. And for new friends to me, if you'd like to just take a screenshot or a photo, you could connect with me through my email, or you could, see kind of, what I'm about at my website, join my On Wings of Joy group to, it's just it's a community in Facebook to support us for living in joy, in courage, self-expression and all kinds of gratitude and creativity. I'm so happy you're here today, and it is my pleasure and Becky's pleasure to have us join you. If you'd like to, donations are always welcome to keep these wonderful, circles going, and other programming the live programming that I'm starting to have. So you could always Venmo me any amount that you feel you'd like to. And I would like you to, take a screenshot of this if you'd like to join us in future. These are on the online events. Earlier I shared about the live events. And so we do have, these are self-care ways to self-care, our wholeness, coming together for that connection we so want in meditation and yoga and all these beautiful things. The next online event will be with Laura Sexauer, and it's on March 21st, and she's a spiritual artist, a registered yoga instructor, Reiki instructor. She's a author and musician, and so she's going to be sharing postures and breathing techniques for grounding and connecting with our intuition. And she's going to be sharing about intuitive oracle cards and doing a few readings. And very last, before we close with a beautiful blessing, hold on. I would like to offer you for a loved one, it's Angel Wings gift card. And if you would like to share Reiki and compassionate companionship for a friend or someone who is grieving or loss, It's $45 for a 60-minute session. And if you purchase it by the end of the month, it can be used anytime, redeemed at any time. So that is a gift you can give yourself or others. And thank you again so much. And thank you all for joining. And Becky, would you like to close out with a blessing?
I'd
Please?
love to. I found this beautiful Apache grief blessing, and I'd love to share it with all of you. So close your eyes. May the sun bring you energy every day, bringing light into the darkness of your soul. May the moon softly restore you by light, bathing you in the glow of restful sleep and peaceful dreams. May the rain wash away your worries and cleanse the hurt that sits in your heart. May the breeze blow new strength into your being. May you believe in the courage of yourself. May you walk gently through the world, keeping your loved one with you always, knowing that you are never parted in the beating of your heart.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Becky, again. And thank you all for your conscious participation in this sacred circle of love and light and beauty and connectivity and harmony. Your energy is so needed on this planet at this time. And namaste. And thank you. And if you would like to stay on to share, or if you'd like to put in the chat how you're feeling now, we will keep going with a little bit of sharing time. Again, thank you so much.